Hello, welcome. I'm Jason White, and this is Jason's Weird Reads, and today I'm going to bring you some recommendations for the Cryptid Readathon that's happening this November of 2023. Now, honestly, I thought there's a lot of books, but a lot of them have gone out of print, and so this was actually a kind of difficult list to put together, but you can definitely go to Sin's video from Sin's Book Nook. She has a video for she has a bunch of recommendations as well, and also go to Crystal from Fiber Artsy. She has a ton of recommendations, and a lot of them I believe are on Kindle Unlimited, so if you're subscribed to that, you can get these books with your subscription. Those videos will be linked down there, and also there's a playlist for the Cryptid Readathon, and I'll put that up here somewhere so you can go check out all the videos. So here's some recommendations. I haven't read any of these, so they're not recommendations so much as a guide, some suggestions, because most of the cryptid fiction that I can find are pretty much Bigfoot, and there seems to be a fair amount of Mothman stuff coming out too. But finding Chupacabras, for example, and oddly enough, the Jersey Devil, those are kind of hard to find any books for. But I have a couple of suggestions here. I did have more books than I do now, but I had to take some of them off because I didn't realize that they were out of print. So here we're going to go with Chupacabras. There's a couple of books here. First up is Night of the Chupacabra by Michael Hebler. And my apologies, by the way, if any of these books turn out to be really difficult to find. Okay, so Night of the Chupacabra by Michael Hebler. Let me read you the synopsis here. Post-Civil War, families move west to begin rich new lives. Only some never make it. There is a creature that lurks in the vast open deserts of the West. It can only survive on blood, and although it prefers prey on the weak and young, it will slaughter anyone or anything, and once provoked. It is unnatural, deceptive, and difficult to kill. Word about the existence of this elusive beast has not spread, since anyone who has crossed paths with it did not live long enough to tell of their account. Night of the Chupacabra is one man's journey to reunite with his missing family, while the lethal creature that separated them, the mysterious and ravenous Chupacabra, is never far behind. So I'm going to leave the synopsis at that because that sounds pretty awesome. I might read this perhaps on the next, I almost said Chupacabra, the next Cryptid Readathon. Alright, next up I also have It Came from Del Rio by Stephen Graham Jones. Now this one is out of print, I must say. It's Stephen Graham Jones. I'm also, I guess, big authors. He wasn't big. This came out in like 2010. He wasn't big then, so it's not too surprising that that it went out of print. But you can still find it. It's not too hard to find a used copy. It would be cool though if they re-released it at least in Kindle. All right, but yeah, if you can find a cheap copy, this one sounds cool. Here's the synopsis. There are borders, and then there are borders, between right and wrong, between Texas and Mexico. The first is a joke to Dodd Raines, the second a payday. Then there's the border he's made, or the borders he's made, between himself and his estranged daughter, the border patrol agent, between himself and his one-time employers, and there's another border, one he cares about even less than the border between life and death. Used to, the shadow Dodd Raines cast. This is hard to read. Used to, the shadow Dodd Raines cast when he stood dripping from that water. It was the shadow of a fugitive, but now that fugitive's coming home, and the shadow he's casting, it's got rabbit ears. Listen, You can hear the Chupacabra padding along beside him, their new master. He's that big guy in the hood, slouching out by the gas pumps, walking north for justice. Austin's never seen anything like Dodd Raines, and never will again. Get ready. Alright, so one more here. Rise of the Chupacabra by Reagan Butcher. This one's also out of print, but I'm pretty sure this one was praised a lot by Hunter Shea in one of his blog posts, so you might be able to find a copy somewhere. Let's get into the synopsis here. The Chupacabra slaughter hundreds of people at the annual Boiling Man Festival deep in the California desert near the Salton Sea. Joe Gifford and his gang of professional Chupacabra hunters are forced to unravel the mystery of the creature's origins. Do Chupacabras come from outer space? Who knows? Or were they genetically engineered in a laboratory to be the ultimate weapon? Can Joe and his crew stop the rise of the Chupacabras? Now, I believe this is also a series, so it'd be really cool if that sounds interesting to you, if you could hunt down and capture one of these books alive. Alright, we're going to move on to Bigfoot. This is the biggest and easiest category to find fiction, and most of my recommendations are fiction. There's definitely a lot of nonfiction, and I might delve into that for the next one. But right now, let's just stick with fiction, for me anyway, on my part. And Bigfoot. First Bigfoot is, this is one I've been wanting to read for a little while, and it's Zombie Bigfoot by Nick Sullivan. Here's the synopsis. Bigfoot is real. That's what Sarah's father told her before his academic disgrace and untimely death. Now, primatologist Dr. Sarah Bishop is eager to restore her father's good name. Survival show host Russ Cloud is just as eager to boost his plummeting ratings. They'll both have a shot at redemption when they find themselves hired by eccentric billionaire Cameron Carson. After a series of his publicity stunts and in spectacular failure, Carson has a plan to redeem his tarnished image. Capture a live Sasquatch. Sarah and Russ join an expedition with an eclectic crew. An Afrikaner safari hunter, a roided-out former wrestling star, a Shoshone master tracker full of surprises, a heavily tattooed Russian warrior woman, a pair of wisecracking nerds, and a cute gum-chewing intern with some hidden skills. Will they find Bigfoot? There's something in the woods, but it's not what they're expecting. Sounds pretty interesting. Now, I can't recommend enough this. This is what got me into Bigfoot fiction in the first place, and it's Bigfoot War by Eric S. Brown. Now, I believe you can buy the first 3 books in this. I'm not too sure if it stopped at 3 books or if it continued. There's a lot, though, that Eric S. Brown sort of plays around with in the Bigfoot universe, so maybe it continued, but I only read the first 3, and you can buy the whole bundle of the first 3 for like $5 or something on Kindle. Maybe it's even less than that. So here's the synopsis for Bigfoot War. Jeff Taylor was an ordinary boy growing up in the small town of Babel Creek, North Carolina, until one night his life was changed forever when a Sasquatch brutally murdered his family. Taylor fled the town, hoping to leave the painful memory behind. Years later, after 2 tours of duty in the Iraq War, he's back in Babel Creek seeking vengeance. Taylor's lust for the blood of the monster that slew his family sets in motion a series of events that soon has the entire town fighting for its life as a tribe of Sasquatches descend from the forests and the hills into Babel Creek to declare war upon its citizens. Babel Creek is about to find out Bigfoot is very real, and there's more than one of the creatures that want to fill the streets with blood. Now, if you like over-the-top, sort of like maybe even borderline extreme horror, if not extreme horror, then these books are for you. They're fun, they're very gory, and it's very violent. Now, as I said, Eric S. Brown, he writes a lot of Bigfoot fiction, so you could pretty much pick almost anything he's written, and it'll fit one of the One of the prompts, another author who's just like that, is Hunter Shea. He has even admitted that he has a fascination for cryptid creatures. And so he's written a lot of Bigfoot books. He's also written The Jersey Devil, which I'm going to be reading. I was surprised that I couldn't find a Chupacabra story by him. Maybe it's there, it's never listed. I don't know, but definitely check out Hunter Shea if you haven't. And I'm sure he has a book that'll fit one of the prompts. He has many books that'll fit any of the prompts, really. So let's go with Bigfoot in the Bronx. Yes, you heard me right. Bigfoot in the Bronx by Hunter Shea, of course. Here's the synopsis. It's hunting season for best friends Shay and Vito. This year, with a bad economy and Shay out of work, it's more important than ever to bag a deer so they can feed their families. Tucking their truck in their secret spot outside a state park in the Catskills, they settle down, waiting for a deer to come to them. What they get is a giant creature that outruns a speeding deer and savages it with its bare hands and jagged teeth. Someone hidden in the woods shoots it with a tranquilizer dart. Shay knows what the beast at their feet is and how its discovery can change their lives forever. They load it into their truck and head home for the Bronx. The drugged Bigfoot awakens in a cramped shed in Shay's backyard. Confused, terrified, angry, it breaks loose in the middle of the night, seeking refuge in a nearby cemetery. When the bagpipes of a mourning funeral drive it into a killing rage, the carnage has just begun. From playgrounds to golf courses, apartment buildings to subway cars, the Bigfoot is on the move and it is not happy. Can Shay and Vito find and recapture the beast before it burns the Bronx to the ground? Now, from my understanding, I've only read 2 Hunter Shea books. I said one in a previous video, but I forgot about one that I read. I read Creature, which is a good fit for pretty much any of the prompts here. And also, I can't remember the name of it, but it involved those sea serpents that you could buy from comic books. But I couldn't, I just wanted to fix that because there's two Hunter Shea books I've read, and I want to read this one. This one sounds like a lot of fun. Next up is The Mountain King by Rick Hatala. This is a classic, by the way, from my understanding. It's from the 90s, I believe. I could be wrong. Could be from the 80s. But here is the synopsis for The Mountain King. In the halls of the Mountain King, there are many legends and ancient tales concerning Mount Egiochuk. I probably pronounced that wrong. The second tallest mountain in Maine. Some of these tales speak of a demon that resides on the rocky slopes near the mountain's snow-crested summit. Legend has it that a force of supernatural evil periodically emerges from the mists that surround the mountain and comes down to the valley looking to claim a life. Sometimes the life it claims is an animal, perhaps a stray dog or a farmer's cow or a horse. At other times, it claims a human life, a straying hiker or a lost camper. Mark Newman has hiked the numerous trails to the summit of Mount Egiochuk many times. He has heard the stories in Indian legend or Native American legend, but he doesn't believe them. Not until one September afternoon, when an early snowstorm sweeps through the mountains, and he witnesses something he knows can't possibly be real, but it's all too real. That sounds really cool. I think I have this book in physical form somewhere in this mess. I'm not sure, but I want to read it. Next up here is a classic by Jeff Strand. I read this like 15 years ago when I was a member of the Horror Aficionados group. Well, I still am a member, but I used to moderate it back in like 2010 or something like that. I helped moderate it, I should say. There's like a team of us. But this was very big there at the time, and if I remember correctly, this was Jeff Strand's first novel. So Dweller by Jeff Strand, here is the synopsis. Toby was just a boy the first time he saw the creature in the woods. His parents convinced the terrified child that it was only his imagination. The next time Toby saw the creature, he was lonely. He was a lonely, unhappy teenager without friends. But the creature would be his friend. It would be there when Toby needed someone to talk to, and it would take care of the bullies who wouldn't leave Toby alone. After all, the creature needed to eat. And during their macabre decades-long friendship, there will be other meals. And if I remember correctly, this story is a bit of a tearjerker at points. Now, I just want to mention another book. This is the book actually that influenced me to do this readathon in the first place, and it's The Bloody Tracks of Bigfoot by David Irons. Now, I'm just going to synopsize this quickly, but I read this earlier in the year and I had so much fun with it. I've talked about it before. I think I may even did a single review of it, and if I did, I'll try to remember to put a link to that down there in the comments. But it's about a movie crew, and the actors, the crew members and all that. They go to this field of basically where they chop down trees and stuff. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's fading for me. They want to finish their film, and they've licensed this area, or got the permits to finish their film here. There's going to be an exploding trailer and everything, and it's all going to go wonderful. But they run into a family of like a mother and a father and a young child of Bigfoot, and things go terribly wrong from there. There's some scenes in here of violence that will never leave my head ever again. This is my first book that I've read by David Irons, and I absolutely adored it. And like I said, it influenced my decision to... I remember when I finished it, I was like, people need to read more Bigfoot books, including myself. And that was like the seed that was planted. About a month later, I was like, why don't we do a readathon for cryptid creatures? So there we go. All right, next up, I'm going to do a couple of Jersey Devil here, Jersey Devil books. And like I said, there wasn't very many. If you know of any Chupacabra horror books or Jersey Devil horror books, please put them down there in the darkness where we can check that out. All right, so I have Devil Hunters by Rick Galtieri. I probably pronounced that wrong, and I'm sorry. Deep in the woods, mankind is the endangered species. Derek Jenner, the crypto hunter, is back. Something is terrorizing the inhabitants of Garden State, leaving a trail of missing persons and mutilated bodies in its wake. All signs point to the Jersey Devil, a creature long considered a hoax, even in the cryptozoological, that's a hard word to say, community. Desperate for answers, the authorities summon Derek and his team to investigate. Now the hunters are about to become the hunted, because what lurks in the forest is more horrifying than they could ever imagine. A nightmare of a man's own making that's about to set its sights in their direction. Sadly for them, a corrupt government official will do everything in his power to cover up the terrible secret that lies at the heart of Pine Barrens, even if it means sacrificing Derek's team to a fate worse than death. And also, I've already read the synopsis for this one in my TBR video for this readathon, because it's the one I'm going to read, and it's probably the most popular Jersey Devil book, and that is The Jersey Devil by Hunter Shea. So I'm just going to read the synopsis again quickly. Everyone knows the legend of the Jersey Devil. Some believe it's an abomination of nature, a hybrid winged beast from hell that stalks the Pine Barrens of southern New Jersey, searching for prey. Others believe it is a hoax, a campfire story designed to scare children, but one man knows the truth. 60 years ago, Boompa Willett, now there's that name again, Boompa, I love that name. Boompa Willett came face to face with the devil and lived to tell the tale. Now the creature's stomping grounds are alive once again with strange sightings and disappearances and worse. After all these years, Boompa must return to the Barrens, not to prove the legend is real, but to wipe it off the face of the earth. The beast must die. It'll take more than just courage to defeat the devil. It will take 4 generations of the Willett clan, a lifetime of survivalist training, and all the firepower they can carry. But timing is critical. A summer music festival has attracted crowds of teenagers. The woods are filled with tender young prey. But this time, the devil is not alone. The evil has grown into an unholy horde of mutant monstrosities, and hell has come home to New Jersey. So that sounds awesome. All right, time to wet my throat. Cheers. Got my Bones coffee here, Frankenbones. This is not a sponsored video by any means, but I love this cup. Now, Sin recommended this book in her video. Like I said, they're linked down there. Go check them out. And if you haven't subscribed to Sin, or Crystal for that matter, give them a subscription. And if you are new to my channel and you like this type of thing, you like horror books with some science fiction and fantasy thrown in here and there, then feel free to subscribe to my channel as well. All right, now Sin recommended this book, and I'm going to as well, because there's not too many books in print about the Loch Ness monster. So we're moving on to water monsters here. I guess I should have mentioned that. So The Loch by Steve Altens. Here's the synopsis. Loch Ness holds secrets, ancient and deadly. Does a monster inhabit its depths, or is it just myth? Why, after thousands of reported sightings and dozens of expeditions, is there still no hard evidence? Marine biologist Zachary Wallace knows, but the shock of his near drowning as a child on Loch Ness have buried all memories of the incident. Now, a near-death experience suffered while on expedition to Sargasso Sea has caused these long-forgotten memories to resurface. I'm going to pause here and say that this guy maybe should stay away from the water. Okay, so his memories have resurfaced. Haunted by vivid night terrors, stricken by a sudden fear of the water, Zach finds he can no longer function as a scientist. Unable to cope, his career all but over, he stumbles down a path of self-destruction. Until he receives contact from his estranged father, a man he has not seen since his parents' divorce and he left Scotland as a boy. Angus Wallace, a wily Highlander who never worked an honest day in his life, is on trial for murdering his business partner. Only Zachary can prove his innocence, if he is innocent, but to do so means confronting the nightmare that nearly killed him 17 years earlier, and like I said, he should stay away from the water. Incorporating the latest research and new evidence that leads to real answers concerning the monster's identity, best-selling author Steve Alten weaves a tale of horror about the most publicized and controversial creature to ever exist. Aside from Bigfoot, that is. So that's Loch. Of course, about Loch Ness Monster. Okay. This one I have read and I enjoyed. This is a killer mermaid story, and it's really fun. It's short. It's a novella. And it's Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. Here's the synopsis. 7 years ago, the Arcticatus set off on a voyage to the Mariana Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legend. It was lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax. Others called it a maritime tragedy. Now a new crew has been assembled, but this time they're not out to entertain. Some seek to validate their life's work. Some seek the greatest hunt of all. Some seek the truth. But for the ambitious young scientist, Victoria Stewart, this is a voyage to uncover the fate of the sister she lost. Whatever the truth may be, it will only be found below the waves, but the secret of the deep come with a price. Like I said, that one is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend it. And there is a prequel that I didn't like so much, because it just seemed like a skeleton copy of this book. Of what happened to that ship that disappeared, and everyone figured that it was either a hoax or not. Anyways, next, now this book, it's not, for some reason, it's not available on Kindle, and I don't understand why, but you can buy the paperback, and it might even be on Audible, I'm not sure, and it's Beast by Peter Benchley. Peter Benchley is known for having written Jaws, so let's see what this book is about. Straight from the cutting edge of science and the logs of ancient mariners comes an immense horror, a creature that rises up from the well of an ocean gone mad with an insatiable hunger and an endless lust to kill. One man leads a harrowing struggle to defeat the beast amid a threatened Bermuda paradise. His name is Whip Darling. Whip Darling. These names, I'm telling you. A down-and-out sea dog who doesn't know where he'll get his next meal or whether it will get him first. Now, judging by the cover, I'm pretty sure this is like a giant squid story. Read it and find out. Now, this book is cheating a little bit, this next book here, because I read it about 10-15 years ago, and everyone that I read it, or I know who's read it, loved it at the time anyway. But it's not necessarily a cryptid sea monster type story, but there is cryptid sea monsters in it. And it's Dead Sea by Tim Curran. Like I said, Tim Curran, he can create some wicked monsters, and he does so in this book. But he also has like giant squids and that type of thing, giant sharks. So let's see what this one is about. Take a journey into a place unknown to humanity, a space between spaces. When the Maracorde, an aged freighter, enters the graveyard of the Atlantic, nightmares become real. The crew finds themselves trapped in a realm where time doesn't exist and unimaginable horrors dwell. Lost in the becalmed sea, in another world where evil manifests itself in hideous forms, the survivors of the Maracorde have an eternity to figure a way out, and if they aren't killed first by the creatures stalking them. This book is filled with monsters, and every one of them is just as dangerous, or even more dangerous and nasty than the last one. And I love this book. I would warn you though, it's a pretty long book. If I remember, it's like 500-600 pages, and the middle part drags a little. The beginning and the ending are phenomenal. Alright, last up here, and we are still in the water creatures. I have Behemoth by Michael R. Cole. Here is the synopsis for this. Rick Napier is a fisherman struggling to make ends meet. The situation is made even worse when a local fishing vessel mysteriously disappears, along with a Coast Guard diver sent to search for the wreckage. As events unfold, he confronts the horrible reality of a top-secret government experiment gone haywire, resulting in a hybrid creature of massive proportions. Escaped from captivity in a high-tech facility in the Atlantic, it seeks to fill an insatiable appetite. Napier's life turns upside down as he witnesses the carnage and devastation, and is forced to confront a behemoth more terrifying than anything imaginable. Now, I don't know if that actually would be technically a cryptid, but I'm going to leave it there anyway because it looks like a lot of fun. Alright, so that is like a fairly short, but some recommendations. Like I said, definitely go check out Crystal's recommendation list video, because she has a ton of books. And check out Sins too, from Sins Book Nook. She has quite a few recommendations, and they all look fantastic as well. She has some, actually both Crystal and Sin both have some nonfiction in there, which is great. Like I said, I want to delve into that, but just not now. And I hope that this list was at least of a little bit of use to you guys. Alright, so that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys coming with me, Crystal and Sin, to check out some cryptid creatures during the month of November. Keep being safe and keep being creative, and I'll catch you guys in the next bookish video.